Welcome to Zimmerman Podcast, episode 120. Today is week 8 in our new series, The Path Back to You. If you're new to this series, we're taking 1 year to discover how to become who we're meant to be. Each month, we dive into a new topic, and this month's topic is embracing darkness and unpacking grief. Today, we're talking about mourning the life we thought we'd live. Let's get started and take this next step on the path back to you. All right, you ready? Let's do it. I'm Jessica Zimmerman, and this is Zimmerman Podcast. I'm a serial entrepreneur, mom to 3, and professional oversharer who has spent a decade building my business and helping others do the same. From wedding floral design to business education, features in Martha Stewart Weddings and Forbes magazine, and even writing and publishing my best-selling memoir, Sleeping with a Stranger, my business has kept growing, evolving, and changing year after year, just like me. Because the best thing about building a strong business is the freedom it gives me to live a full life. And that's what Zimmerman Podcast is all about, sharing real, transparent, in-the-moment reflections about how to live a life, build a business, and lead a family through the good, the hard, and the messy. That's what we're doing each week, right here on Zimmerman Podcast. Welcome to the show. Sometimes, whether slowly or all at once, you realize that your life is not and will never be what you thought it would be, even if it is more beautiful than you thought possible, even if you are more fulfilled than you could have imagined, even if you wouldn't take that first dream life back for all the money in the world. You eventually need to grieve the life you fought so hard for, the life you'll never have, and maybe never had. I thought I would grow up with a big sister by my side, a sudden death of a person and a dream and a life. I thought I'd live the rest of my life with Brian and I married, living in the same house. That was a slow disillusion. It's hard to put a time of death on something like that. That's a mourning that starts sooner, while the relationship is still living and breathing, and lasts longer until well after all formal ties are severed. I'll never mourn Brian because our love for each other is still very real, both emotional and practical, so clear in the ways we work to make life beautiful for each other, whether that's sharing in an old joke, in lending a listening ear, or making ourselves available outside of designated times to parent our kids together. And in many ways, my sister Courtney is still here too. She speaks to me in flowers and cardinals and even dreams. But I think we can mourn the end of what once was. The idea that a person or relationship or life can't continue progressing and growing. That we can't keep walking side by side on the same path. Instead, we're cheering each other on from separate paths, knowing that with each necessary step, we're growing further and further apart. Further from who we were when we were together. I think that's what I really mean when I talk about outgrowing one another. It's not that one person has the moral high ground. It's that both have grown, but in different directions, in the right directions. And any attempt to stop that growth would be crazy. Who would want to stop growth? If you really love someone, don't you want the best for them, even though it might hurt you? But how do you grieve something that you chose, something that hurts so deeply, even though it's the right choice? When you feel like you're losing your mind, I'm here to help you restore your soul. A few years ago, I woke up and felt like everything in my life was a lie. I didn't recognize myself or any of the people around me. For the first time in my life, I questioned everything I had ever been taught or told. I didn't know what was true anymore, and I felt like everything I knew was slipping away from me. I went through a complete dark night of the soul, until I was forced, by something much more powerful than me and my fears, to stop running from myself and start facing the truth. That the pain in my life wasn't coming from the world around me, but from the pain inside me. I remember thinking, what if the cause of your pain and the cure for your pain is the same? you. That's what my program, The Path Back to You, is all about. Not starting over, but starting again on a path that will return you to yourself, a path that will heal and refine you, a path that will break you and make you whole. When searching for answers to what felt like an all at once, completely sudden, never ending list of questions with no answers, all I found was the advice just sit with yourself and heal. All the answers are inside of you. And I remember thinking, gee, thanks. That's helpful. I know I need to heal, and I'm willing and ready to do the work to do that, but how? Where do I begin? Well, it took some time, but after years of therapy, researching on my own, trial and error, mess ups and setbacks, I found my way back home, back to myself. In The Path Back to You, I share with you my own personal story of struggle and trauma as a sacred offering. My hope is that through my story, you can better see yourself. I share with you my darkest moments and the steps I took to find my light, the light I had dimmed for most of my life. Throughout all the heartache I've endured, I've finally found peace, and I want to share my roadmap with you. If any of this resonates with you, trust that this episode found you for a reason. Trust the divine intervention. Those brave enough to have embarked on a healing journey know how incredibly lonely and painful it is. I remember feeling completely isolated, like I didn't even belong in this world anymore. It was scary as hell. But I want you to know you are not alone. While I fully believe healing is a solo journey, I think it's totally okay to have a roadmap and a pathfinder who has gone before you to guide you as you return home to you. Join me on the path back to you. Click the link in the show notes or go to jessicazimmerman.com to learn more. And just for you, podcast listeners can get 15% off with code PATH15. That's PATH15. This is a deep, personal grief that is made harder to process because it's so complex. And there's no sign of when it might end or fade. And usually, so few understand. While Brian and my love for each other can continue in new ways because we have such concrete places to channel that love, our children and our eternally enmeshed lives, our families and friends don't have that same advantage and struggle to know where to channel everything they feel, their anger and resentment and confusion. Brian and I made the decision to separate and later divorce out of love. Our love for each other and for the way we grew up together in young childhood and parenthood helped us to know that if we wanted to keep our love and appreciation for that season we'd already loved together, we needed to end in its time. We couldn't drag it out without poisoning the good we had and have. Still, it's normal to revisit or want to revisit your old life. It's comfortable. And sometimes we do this in order to remember that our old life doesn't fit us anymore, to remind us why we chose what we did. The most helpful way to revisit a life that you mourn but don't want back is to explore timelines. The short version of a timeline is basically you give yourself the time and space to sit and meditate on, number one, your actual past, from beginning to end. What's been powerful for you? What's been traumatic for you? Anything that comes to mind. Number two, then imagine your actual past from the perspective of the people around you. How did they perceive your actions and choices? Did you hurt people, or were you hurt by people? What was or could have been going on with them to prompt those feelings and expressions? Number three, imagine your fullest life, your highest potential, the life you were made for. If your skills and wisdom and circumstances played out in perfect alignment. And you can shift from your actual life to your new life, your birthright life. There's a word for shifting timelines like this. It's called the quantum leap. You're leaping or upgrading. This is where everything that you have been manifesting, everything that you've been dreaming about in the energetic realms, this is where it grounds into the physical realm. Your emotional and soul reality crashes into your physical reality, and your new life, your calling, integrates with your actual reality. You need to stay open, stay receptive, and believe that all of the new, abundant, successful energy is being unleashed and is being sent your way. Everything is a choice, and shifting to your highest timeline, it's one of the best choices you'll ever make. There's nothing more beautiful than handling a situation better than you would have in the past. It's evidence that you're transitioning to that higher timeline, ready to embody your true dream life. Reflecting on dreams that need to be released gives you the wisdom and the room to step into the life that was made for you. You shouldn't idealize the past, nor should you ignore it. Honor the past for what it was, learn from it what wisdom it offers, and then step into the life made for you. You've always had the key to open any door. If you want to know more about the life that I've had to mourn, as well as some practical tools for how to grieve, like my favorite meditations, affirmations, and steps to purposefully letting go, I'd invite you to join my Path Back to You course. Go to jessicazimmerman.com to learn more. Thank you so much for joining me today as we journey together on this path back to you. I hope what you heard resonated with you and you can take it with you into your week. If you're looking for more resources for the journey, go to jessicazimmerman.com. And I'll see you right here next week for our next leg of the journey.